about to get real, keep it live, that's right. From Pennsylvania to across the globe, it's time for the Steelers All-Star Show.
Welcome to the Steelers by the Lake podcast. My name is James Strong, joined once again by my co-hosts Nick Pretzel and Joe from Ohio. Unfortunately, Cody under the weather, not able to join us this morning, so we wish him a speedy recovery from his current illness. How are you folks doing this wonderful morning?
James, it's been a week, but we're going to be talking some Steelers news, and we'll touch on that shortly here. Jill, how are you today?
I'm a little under the weather. I feel like I just can't get fully healthy, but that's this time of year for me, almost every year. So, but we're pushing through, and we're going to talk Steelers football, and I'm excited about that. James, how you doing?
Love this time of year. You know, it's Steelers are 1-0. We've got a tough matchup that we're going to talk all about with the Seattle Seahawks. Some folks be very highly motivated for this game. But we do want to take a moment just to recognize the fact that this week was a very heavy week for our nation. There's very, very troubling times that it feels like so many people have so much hate in their hearts. And it's just sad. It's really sad to see it. It's sad to see a woman have to tell her 3-year-old child that she's never going to see her father again. It's sad that a person would be shot rather than just having a civil discussion. When his entire platform was, let's have open discussion. Let's debate openly. And one of the things that I loved about Charlie Kirk is that he talked about his faith very openly, and that was the most important thing to him. More important than politics was trying to bring people to Jesus Christ, to be Christians. Whether you believe in it or not, that's 100% up to you. But unfortunately, this seemed like an act against Christianity as much as it was against politics. And it's so important that we speak to each other on a civil level, that we have conversation, that we don't resort to hate and violence, that we don't pull a trigger before holding a microphone. Just have enough respect for each other and each other's families that they get to go home at night and hug their loved ones. And it's a crying shame that he'll never get to do that again.
Yeah, and a similar sentiment, too, for the shooting that took place in the Colorado high school. No children should have to fear going to school every day. They should be able to go there with confidence to learn, to be educated, to grow, and to not have to fear the same thing, not being able to go home to their families. So we here at Steelers by the Lake are against any and all forms of violence. We feel the same way about the Democratic lawmakers that lost their lives not a few months ago, and for some reason that wasn't as highly covered. We don't take any particular sides here on the show, except for the fact that we are completely against violence of any kind against any individual. It does not matter who perpetrates it, who the victim is, what side anybody is on. It's all wrong. And like James said, it's all about having that open discussion. And the most recent events feel like an attack on that open discussion. So again, we here are definitely against all of that. And we support, being able to find common ground with one another. And even if we can't find common ground with one another, saying, I still appreciate you. And I still understand that your beliefs are hopefully to make this country a better nation. We may not always agree on what that looks like, but our ultimate goal should be to try and make this country a better place for people to live. Yeah. And not one where you have to fear going out and having a certain opinion or voting a certain way or going to school.
Yeah. I find it interesting that all of this, like what feels like hate, is developing around 9/11. And I think of, September 12th and how we really came together as a country. And I feel like we were supporting. And I'm like, how quickly have we forgotten our roots? Like, we should be for each other, not against each other, And as Christians, that's what Jesus does. So I'm just, they're all resting with Jesus now. And that at least gives us hope on this side of heaven. So.
Absolutely. So,
right. Oh, is that Alani?
Dang right it is.
Yes, let's go.
Cracking a cold one.
They got
Here's to you, Charlie.
yeah. Amen. Amen.
My favorite place to crack a cold one is the Edinburgh Hotel Bar.
Good job, Nick.
Had to transition somehow. So
That was
there
good.
it is.
That was great.
There it is. Let's turn this around, get into a more upbeat, positive mode. What's going to make you more positive than talking about our fine friends over at the Edinburgh Hotel Bar? Steelers by the Lake is sponsored in part by the Edinburgh Hotel Bar at 100 Meadville Street in downtown Edinburgh, with a full menu including daily lunch and dinner specials, a family-friendly, smoke-free environment. Details are available at 814-734-5403 or online at edinburghhotelbar.com. The Edinburgh Hotel Bar, where you had me at hotel.
Had me at a hotel.
We've got some transactions going on this week, folks. We knew there were some injuries coming out of last week's game. What we didn't know was the severity of some of them, but roster transactions tell you a lot about that. So Pittsburgh did move both Skylar Thompson and Malik Harrison to the injured reserve. So that hamstring that tightened up on Skylar Thompson in the middle of the week must have a little bit of significance to it, as he's going to miss at least the next 4 weeks. Malik Harrison, that was a knee injury. I'm understanding that this was not like an ACL tear. I believe we're looking at another MCL here. Seems to be an MCL sprain with Deshaun Elliott as well, but he was not moved to any kind of injured reserve, which is a great sign for the possibility of him coming back sooner rather than later. In corresponding moves, the Steelers officially moved James Pierre from the practice squad to the 53-man roster as one of the starting gunners on special teams. We will be needing him every Sunday. Another move they made was the big one, guys. Jabril Peppers, now a Pittsburgh Steeler, bolstering that safety room, has a little bit of experience at the nickel corner position, has a ton of experience of ripping people's heads off. How excited are you guys about the addition of Jabril Peppers to the safety room for Pittsburgh, helping reinforce a position that just suffered a key injury?
Well, I feel like that was one of our rooms where we were confident going into the season, and then injuries, we were like, oh no, there goes our depth. So I'm really excited, and especially I feel like he plays like Steeler football with the physicality, and he being really involved in the game. I think it's a great addition, and I think we're going to see a lot of good things come out of this.
We were talking a little bit before the show, and I mentioned this is a move that I wouldn't have minded seeing prior to the season. I was surprised when it was Chuck Clark and not Jabril Peppers when he was available. So seeing them make that move now is something I'm excited about. Jill mentioned his sort of Steelers mentality. And not only that, but I saw a few times, it might have been just once or twice, but he seems highly motivated to be there. And they got him right into practice. So I'm sure we won't see a ton of him this week as he's still learning the defense. But I'm excited to see a lot out of him moving forward, especially with the Patriots game coming up. That should be a huge motivation for him there. And then on top of that, another guy I'm excited to see a lot of this week, hopefully with Malik Harrison going to the IR, is Cole Holcomb, who I thought had a stellar preseason and I think should get a lot more work now that Harrison is on the IR. So hopefully he can maintain that level of play that he had in the preseason, coming up back off that injury that he had, and show us some solid film over the next couple of weeks, especially with a tough matchup in the run game this week.
Yeah, so I think this is going to give us a little bit of insight as far as what Pittsburgh is going to do for this upcoming week. We're recording Saturday morning. I don't know when any of you folks are listening or watching this, but that gives you a reference point. So Pittsburgh has not done any elevations quite yet. They typically do those on Saturday. They did sign quarterback Logan Woodside to the practice squad, but he's not eligible to be elevated as that exempt quarterback. So if they elevate him, he has to dress and count against the 48 man.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised to see John Radigan elevated this week, being that the linebacker room took a hit in being down Malik Harrison for the special teams duties there. So we'll see how that plays out this week. Also, the elephant in the room in the quarterback position is this just opened the door for Will Howard to come back earlier than we would have thought otherwise. So that's kind of exciting. A lot of us thought that we probably wouldn't see him come off the injured reserve the rest of the year. In the first regular season game, he was seen shaking hands with Jets players afterwards with nothing on his hand.
Mm-hmm.
So any kind of brace or anything was completely gone, which means he's fully healed up. Doesn't mean they have to bring him off the injured reserve. He can stay on it the whole season still. But if they feel like they need that third quarterback, which Pittsburgh typically has 3 on their active roster, Will Howard's eligible to come back earlier. So it may be something that they move Will Howard back in an effort to get that number 3 quarterback on the roster. We might see it right after that away game over in Ireland. You never know.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? Would that be something that would tickle your fancy a little, get you a little excited about things this season?
Well, besides me already being excited about this, I mean, I've said it from the get-go. Like, I am excited about, like, his hunger and his drive. Like, I feel like every time he's talking, he's always like, I've got a point to prove, and I'm going to prove everybody wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, listen, I'm one of the people that you have to prove wrong because I don't trust an OSU quarterback. But I like the fact that he's so driven. And so I feel like if we see that, I want to see him, but I don't want to see him. You know, like, yeah. I don't want to be down to our 3rd string quarterback. So but it's exciting for the possibility of him coming back and being, like, dressing, you know, for game days, being on the 53.
So my hope and thoughts on if Will Howard does come back is that I hope our defense starts looking actually like our defense normally does.
Yes.
Other than obviously how the run game looked last year. I want that run game shored up. But if we can start putting up the number of points we did against the Jets and also stopping defenses, we won't have to have Rodgers out there the whole time. We could start putting guys like Howard or Rudolph out there. And I'm sure it would at this point be Rudolph, but I'm in that situation. I would be hoping we would be getting Will Howard some reps. So that would be a situation I would like to see, is being so far ahead in games, we don't have to worry about having our first string quarterback out there, be able to get Will Howard out there, get some reps, get him used to things, because I have a feeling that he's going to be more of our regular backup moving forward at the very least. So I would like to see him get a little bit more NFL experience before needing to put him into that situation, because then we don't, as much as I love Mason and like having him around, we wouldn't have to sign Mason to another deal. We can keep Howard on his rookie deal for a couple years at least and be in a better situation there as well. So that's how I would hope it plays out. Granted, that's a big ask. So.
It is, but let's be real, guys. This offense probably looked a little bit better than most of us expected, at least on the passing side of things, week 1. So we're going into week 2 now, and the next thing we talk about on this show is going to be the injury update and where people are at on that. As you're about to find out, the secondary for the Seahawks is very injury depleted right now. Could be another opportunity for Rodgers to stat paddle a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Man, you wish Will was available to play in the 4th quarter if we get up by a score or 2. I don't know that that'll be my score prediction, but we will get to that as well. So injury list, Friday report, Joey Porter Jr. missed all week long with a hamstring. He has been declared out for the game. Deshaun Elliott out with the knee. Nick Herbig, full practice, multiple days this week, including Friday. Looks like he's a healthy go. Will get his first action of the 2025 season, so nice to have him back. Alex Highsmith did creep onto the report with an ankle one day, but came right back off of it, was full after that. So my guess is woke up with a sore ankle, felt fine the next day. So you'll have a full outside linebacker room as far as health, which is an absolutely beautiful thing. Calvin Anderson had an illness this week, but will go. TJ Watt got a couple vet days. He's good to go. Cam Hayward, same thing. So it doesn't look like there's any kind of setback as far as the eye poke, which is wonderful. Derek Harmon still out with that knee injury. We did kind of expect at least 3 to 4 weeks of the regular season before we saw him. So he will miss this second game as well. Anything y'all want to talk about on any of those guys before we move to the Seahawks injuries?
No,
Nope.
We've talked a lot about these injuries because they're not brand new this week. So
nope. Yeah, pretty straightforward. I think we'll see Jalen Ramsey mostly at corner now that we're not going to have Joey Porter available for the game. So might be a little bit more predictable, but a heavy dose of Brandon Eccles, and Eccles seems to be a capable guy. So I'm not scared of him being on the field. Now, when we go to the Seahawks side of business here, they only have 2 guys that are on their official game status, but we're going to talk about some other folks here as well. Nick Emanwari, the rookie safety, is out with an ankle injury. From what I understand, it could be a semi-significant one where he could miss an extended amount of time here. Won't be our problem the rest of the season, but a big problem for them. Yeah. Also, cornerback Devin Witherspoon, who is their best corner, was a rookie last season and a very good one at that, has a knee injury and is doubtful. He did not participate in practice all week long. So that's a very significant thing. They actually just signed a guy to the practice squad who was a former player for them, Shaquille Griffin. So he's back there grasping at straws, bringing extra guys back for their very unhealthy secondary right now. During the week here, Jake Bobo was recovering from a concussion. He was a full practice, so he should be good to go. Linebacker Ernest Jones had a shoulder, but should be ready to go. Safety Julian Love with a groin was limited on Friday. He's anticipating playing according to this, but a safety with an injured groin is not going to be able to change directions as quickly as he would normally. Right. So if you can get one-on-one with him in the open field, you might be able to juke him up. If you can get him to change directions quickly, he's probably not going to be able to do it like he would when he's fully healthy. They are getting Uchenna Nwosu, the pass rusher, back. He was a full go. Defensive tackle Jerron Reed, who's got some back issues, also a full go. And then wide receiver Drake Young with a hamstring is also a full go. So they're getting a little healthier at some positions, but their secondary really going through it right now. And then my understanding is Tariq Woolen has kind of fallen out of favor and been benched. So they're really, really struggling trying to figure out what to do in the corner and safety room right now, which should open a lot of opportunities for this passing offense. Does that then force the linebackers further back to try to help out? Possibly. If that does, that'll open up some running lanes. So we'll see what the strategy is. How does the Seahawks try to help out their secondary? If they just go the blitz the living bejesus out of you and try to get the quarterback before you can throw the ball, or if they drop everybody to try to help out. 2 approaches. You could go either way with this. Anything y'all want to talk about the Seahawks injuries there?
Just like you said, I think the depleted secondary is going to be a huge factor for us. It'll be interesting to see how they decide to try to roll things out there. But I'm also definitely interested to see how our defensive shifts due to injury impact us as well, because that'll impact how our keys go. Because I'm sure a lot of us are going to talk defense and more on our keys. So we'll see how that all plays out. But having their big name guys in those spaces is definitely going to be a big help, especially because the other really stout guys that they've got like a couple along the line. So I'm not as worried as I was last week with the Quinnen Williams situation. So hopefully our offensive line can gel a little bit this week. I saw that Broderick Jones took some accountability for his poor play last week. So I'm hoping that him and Sayamalu both will be able to put out a better performance than they did last week. There was one play that came across my feed this past week where I just saw Sayamalu totally just ignore a guy and then go further out, and I was a little upset by that one. So I know that's not really a Seahawks injury report deal, but it kind of was. So that's my 2 cents.
Fair enough. So it's time for us to talk about the upcoming opponent here, who they have healthy, who they don't have healthy, and what we think could be issues. So going with the offense here, starting quarterback Sam Darnold in a new team for the first time. Had some ups and downs last week, but Sam does have the capability of throwing for a ton of yards when feeling healthy. The running back room, Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. Zach was the better running back of the two week one. So I would look for a heavy dose of him, as Kenneth Walker seems to be kind of falling out of favor there and not fitting the new offensive scheme quite as well. Their fullback, Robbie Q? Is that a Q or is it an O? I'm having a tough time reading.
That's an O.
Oates.
Oh, Oates. That O's. Yeah.
This,
Oh, that is a.
if you're fooling our teacher on how to pronounce your name's just.
Well, it's a problem because names don't follow phonetic patterns. So you can try to do it phonetically, but it'll probably be wrong. So
fair enough.
Owl, maybe, or owl, because I'm like, oh, you can say owl. I don't know.
Yeah. So they've got a fullback. A lot of teams don't these days.
Name's Robbie.
Neither do we. So let's just throw that out there. So.
Yeah. Wide receiver room, Cooper Kupp, obviously now a Seattle Seahawk, with Jackson Smith and Jigba, who is the focus of their offense last week. So somebody that Pittsburgh has to pay extra special attention to, but I would not ignore Cooper Kupp on the opposite side there. Starting offensive line left to right has a lot of young talent here, with Charles Cross at left tackle, the rookie Gray Zabel at left guard, center Jalen Sundell, right guard Anthony Bradford, and right tackle also a young player in Abraham Lucas. So it would be interesting to see how those guys hold up. It sounds like their offensive line has been a plus for them thus far. And at tight end, A.J. Barner and Eric Saubert, with Elijah Arroyo backing them up. So not a scary tight end room. Definitely one wide receiver that is very scary, and an offensive line that can probably move some people. So definitely some things to be aware of on this unit. Joe, you want to start off with that defensive line for me?
Yeah, I got you. So we've got Jaron Reed at defensive tackle. We've got Brian Murphy at the nose tackle. Leonard Williams at the defensive end. We've got Ernest Jones and Tyrese Knight. Tyree, yep. And then DeMarcus Lawrence as the rush there. And then they've got three listed as their first. I'm not going to try to pronounce that one.
Yeah,
name.
I got you on this. We got Uchenna
Nwosu, okay.
Boye Mafe and Derek Hall all listed as starting strong side linebackers. I don't know how you can have three of them. But they are confident in all three of them, and all three of them do have a good pass rushing resume. So I'll give them credit on that.
I'd like, sure, do you, you know?
Yeah. I don't know how you got three starting guys at one position, but okay.
That is crazy to me. We'll probably see Josh Jobe at cornerback because they still have Witherspoon listed, but I would assume that's not updated. Rick Wollen, and then safeties with Kobe Bryant and Julian Love.
Yep, so we'll see how well Julian Love is ready to go. The corner room is going to be interesting, right? Because we've been told, I was listening to some podcasts earlier the week where Seahawks reporters were saying Tariq Woolen had been benched. So Josh Jobe and I would think Nehemiah Pritchett would be the starters there.
Yeah.
The only other guys they're listing are Darion Kendrick and Shaq Griffin, who just got signed a couple days ago. Yeah. So they might be able to be confused on some crossing patterns and some twists and some crazy stuff. If you do some creative things with your route running, you might be able to catch these guys off guard. Special teams, their kicker Jason Myers, their punter / holder Michael Dixon. Punt return duty is handled by Torrey Horton and Jake Bobo. Kick return by George Halani and Derek Young. Long snapper Chris Stoll, because long snappers matter too.
Yes, they do.
As we almost found out during the preseason.
Almost.
Absolutely. So some big boys up front for this team, some pretty solid pass rushers, a very depleted secondary. This is something Pittsburgh will absolutely be trying to take advantage of. So let's just hope that offensive line gives Rodgers enough time that he can find the open guys, because he proved to us last week he can absolutely still find and hit the open players.
Yes.
So on to our two keys for success in this week's game. Jill, Nick, which one of you would like to go first today?
Doesn't matter to me.
Go for it, Jill.
All right.
Jill it is.
My first key to success. I like off the top of my head, I feel like we could all come up with so many.
Yes.
But I think after watching last week's game, my first key to success is we have to win at the line of scrimmage on both ends of the ball. Like we have to be able to put up the blocks that we need and make sure that Rodgers gets his time. And that's true for the defensive side too. I feel like there were opportunities, there were missed blocks, missed tackles. We need to be consistent. We're not going to win them all. Like you won't win every single time you go up for your line, but to win the majority of, I think, is what we need to look for. Whereas last week, I felt like it was the majority of the Jets and not the majority for us. And I need like everybody doing their job. So I was listening to a podcast where it's like, you can't point fingers. And I'm like, I get that. You can't. But like, if somebody's not doing their job, then, you know, it almost makes me think of like what Minka used to have to do, where he's doing somebody else's job and then he can't do his own job. So like, you know, I will point fingers.
I was going to say, my fingers are fully extendable, so I can definitely point them.
Again, I've never taken a snap of football in my entire life. I'm just a devoted fan, so I get it. But, you know, everybody has to do their job. They have to get their blocks, their tackles. And then if everybody's doing their job, you'll win the majority at the line of scrimmage.
Absolutely. Kind of to back up your point there, both Peyton Wilson and Patrick Queen admitted to trying to make up for the fact that Keanu Benton was getting pancaked. So they were trying to cover his hole and in doing so abandoning their own and then creating cutback lanes for runners last week. So everybody has to do their job. 100% agree with you. Nick, what about your first takeaway for this key to success?
Yeah, my first key for sure is going to be establish the run.
Yes.
We saw a lot of success in the play action game last week. I'm worried about the sustainability of that if we can't establish the run, because then it's not going to be as threatening. So it's not that I don't think that we will have success, but I want to see at least 75 yards rushing. I think that in order to keep that up, we're going to have to continue to establish the run. I don't understand putting Kenneth Gainwell out there for more snaps, I think, than Jalen Warren. I think he outsnapped Jalen Warren.
I think he got like 10 touches or something like that. Or they had to have been more, but anyways.
Well, and I know Warren ended up being slightly more productive, but I think Gainwell still outsnapped him. I could be wrong on that. But I would definitely like to see, and I think that kind of ties into Jill's key a little bit, is if we can establish those lanes, and if like James said, if the linebackers kind of have to cheat back a little bit to help out the secondary. So I think we should obviously come out slinging the ball, but I think we need to also establish the run in order to support that as well, kind of keep the defense honest. So that's my first key.
All right, I'm going to throw my first one out there, and I'm going to give you an exact number on this one. I want to see the Pittsburgh Steelers get at least 4 sacks in this game. It's time to get back to terrorizing the quarterback. It's time to get back to getting in the backfield and making guys uncomfortable. Sam Darnold is new to the team. I know he's been there all off season. He's never been the most mobile quarterback in the world. So let's go get him. I feel like last week we were just that close to having extra sacks here and there. I know TJ almost had one. Y.A. Black a couple times had his hands on the quarterback. And if it wasn't for the fact that Justin Fields is such a big, strong, athletic individual, he would have gone down. So a lesser athletic quarterback, if those same guys get their hands on him, he's going down. I'm calling for 4+ sacks out of the Steelers, and I don't care where they come from. I don't care if it's Chuck Clark on one side and Darius Slay on the other getting all the sacks, or if it's all TJ Watt and Cam Hayward. Don't care. Just get them to the ground and make them uncomfortable.
Amen.
Nick, I think. Or no, I guess.
No, you're up again. We're snaking you, James.
Oh, shoot, man. I got all long-winded there. My next key is going to tie into both of you guys a little bit, probably a little more with Joe's first one. I want to see less than 100 yards rushing by the Seahawks.
Ooh.
So it's time to tighten the run D back up. Part of this is personnel. Part of it is schematic. We did see Pittsburgh's run defense tighten up at the end of last week's game and start stopping them more at the end of the game than they were the first probably 2.5 quarters or so. So they did make some adjustments. They did get better as the game went on. The coaching staff has insinuated we will see more Y.A. Black this week, which I am very happy about because to me he is a drastically better run defender than what we have out of Isaiah Loudermilk. So it's time to establish a good run defense, which will then allow our pass rushers to get after the quarterback. So less than 100 yards rushing for Seattle is my second key to success.
I like that a lot, James. I think that was where I was planning on going with my second key here. So you know what they say about great minds or something like that.
We're all thinking.
But however, I'll go to my third option for a key here then, because I think it's equally as important. And that's I want to see our corners lock down the receivers. I thought Darius Slay had a bit of a rough game last week, although he made up for it when it mattered most. I'd like to see him be able to not have to make up for it when it matters most and just be able to continue that play across the game. So I'd like to see both Jackson Smith and Jigba and Cooper Kupp locked down no matter who's on what side. But I'd like to see them hold Darnold to at most 150 passing yards. If we can keep them below that, they're going to have to go one-dimensional with the run, and then we can diagnose that a little bit better. So I'm thinking that might be the magic number, but hopefully whether they go over that or not, our corners just lock down those guys.
Not too many teams win when they pass for less than 150 yards. So I think that's a very good key to success there, Nick. I think one of the only ones from week 1 was the Bengals, only had like 113 yards passing and still won. But that was also the Browns, who don't really have an offense.
Right.
So, Joe, you get to bring it home for us.
Oh,
your second and final key to success.
Well, it's hard when, again, great minds think alike. But I think I was like, well, yep, would have said that. Yep, would have said that. But I think utilizing all of our receiving targets is what is going to win us this game. Because I think, I was tied between two, because I really think every time we score on our first drive, that just sets the tone and we'll win the game. I just believe that in my heart. But I think we need to utilize our tight ends more. I'd like to see Darnell Washington get a reception and just push him forward, let him fall forward. And that'll be 5 yards right there. The thing is, he's used so much for that protection and that blocking because he is a mountain of a man. But I would like to see him get some touches. I'd like to see all of our tight ends get touches and our receivers. Throw in our running back there. That'll really throw this defense for we don't know what's coming next. How do we defend with that secondary being so limited and no depth to it? I feel like our offense could have a game this week if we are creative and do it right. I do think Arthur Smith did a great job play call last week. And so I feel like as we grow confident in the players, we're going to see more creative use of our targets.
I like that a lot, Jill, especially with the success we had last week spreading the ball around. It really gives the opposing team a hard time of, okay, who do we double?
Right.
Who do we put the attention on this play? Who do we put the attention on when they've got this personnel out there as opposed to that personnel? So because we have so many versatile options out there on the roster, it really gives Arthur Smith a lot that he gets to play with. So I like that key a lot, and I think that it contributed to our success last week. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So.
Don't fix it.
Absolutely. So final segment before we wrap up today's show is score predictions. So time to hear what you guys think we're going to see. Nick, you want to go first on score predictions?
Sure, I can do that.
All right.
Having factored in all that we've spoken of this morning thus far and looking at both rosters, I think we're going to see a bit of a attempt from both teams, especially with what happened last week, to do a bit of a ground and pound for a lot of these for most of the game here. So I don't think that we won't throw the ball, but I think there will be a strong effort to run the ball. And I think as such, it's going to be not as high scoring of a game as we saw last week. So I'm going to go still decently high. I'm going 28-24 Pittsburgh.
8-24. Okay.
All right, Jill, what do you got this week?
Well, I went really low and then they went high. So I'm like, should I keep that pattern going? Like, just like totally prove me wrong with the points. I do think we might see a higher scoring game. I think it's going to be 31-24 us. I think Boz is going to get another field goal just because do we ever have a game without a Boz field goal? Like, so.
Keep getting me fantasy points, Boz. I love it.
Listen, as we've all said before, Boz for president.
Boz for president.
Boz for president. And apparently Ben Roethlisberger watches our podcast because we've been saying Boz for president since 2019 on this show.
Mm-hmm.
And Ben just said it this week. So if you're watching the show, greatness also watches. My prediction for this week's show, once again, right before I said mine, somebody said one of the numbers that I was going to spit out. I'm not changing it. I'm keeping it. I've got Pittsburgh scoring 31 points this week, but only allowing 20.
Nice.
So we're going 31-20. I think big game for DK Metcalf today, especially with the depleted secondary. He's highly motivated to show these guys they never should have moved on from him.
Absolutely.
And I think Rodgers understands that better than anyone and will absolutely pound the ball to DK. I wouldn't be surprised if DK goes over 100 yards today. So I'm going 31-20 with Pittsburgh with a big win. All right. Anything that you two would like to add to this before we wrap up today's show?
I wish I was going to the game. It's going to be electric at Heinz Field. Whatever.
Home opener DK revenge game. Can't wait.
Absolutely. So thanks for joining us today. You catch us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Make sure to do those 5-star reviews for James. Yeah, me.
Yeah.
I love to see them. We're due for a new 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. So we'd love to see that from you folks. So we're wrapping it up, and y'all have a wonderful day.
Now it's time.